It's funny how sometimes you can look at the headlines from just one week, and it feels like you're getting a glimpse of the future. It's not just a bunch of random stories. It's like all these major forces are converging and pointing in the same direction. So let's dive into this week's news and see what it's really telling us about this new age of disruption we're all living through. We're going to start not with a hard fact, but with a feeling. You know that sense of unease? That feeling that the ground is shifting under our feet? And maybe a little faster than we're totally comfortable with? Well, it's a feeling that seems to be spreading, and one person really managed to put it into words. And that person is an investor named Matt Schumer. He wrote this essay called Something Big is Happening, and it completely exploded online. We're talking over 80 million views. Now, he says he wasn't trying to scare anyone, but wow, he definitely hit a nerve. And that's the real question, right? Forgetting the headlines for a second, are you feeling it? That sense that some really big changes are on the horizon? For our jobs, our economy, maybe for everything. Schumer's essay just perfectly captured this kind of collective anxiety we have about the sheer speed of what's coming at us. His main analogy is what's really powerful. He compares right now to February 2020. Think back to that time. The world was just business as usual, but there was this quiet rumble, Something huge was on the horizon, but most of us were kind of underestimating it. He's arguing that's exactly where we are with AI. All right, so let's talk about the engine behind that rumble, artificial intelligence. Because this isn't just about some cool new gadget. We're talking about a force that's creating unbelievable new efficiencies and, at the very same time, threatening to completely upend entire industries. And this really shows you the two faces of AI. On one hand, you've got a UBS analyst warning about a shock to the system for credit markets because AI is disrupting so many businesses. But on the other hand, you've got companies using it as this amazing tool that's kicking off a whole new era of efficiency. It's a creator and a destroyer, all at once.
And the scale of that threat, it's just staggering. That same analyst is predicting that AI disruption could cause up to $120 billion in corporate loan defaults just by the end of this year. Why? Because the technology is moving way, way faster than anyone thought it would.
But then, you've got the flip side. A company like DHL has brought in over 8,000 collaborative robots. And get this, they aren't just replacing people. In that same time frame, they hired 40,000 humans. The robots are just making the jobs easier, more efficient. They're handling the repetitive stuff so the whole operation can scale up to meet demand.
So what does all this high-tech disruption actually mean for people on the ground? Well, it connects directly to the financial pressures and, the opportunities that we're all dealing with. It's creating what you might call an economy of extremes.
You've probably heard this term before, the K-shaped economy. Just picture the letter K. The top arm goes up. That's the wealthy, who are doing better and better. But the bottom leg trends down, and that represents middle and lower income families who are starting to fall behind. You end up with two completely different economic realities happening at the same time. A Bank of America economist came up with an even better metaphor, the jaws of a crocodile. Just look at this. Spending for high-income folks is holding steady, but for middle and low-income households, it's slowing way down. That gap between them is getting wider and wider, just like a crocodile opening its mouth.
And the human cost of that widening gap is huge. In fact, the National Foundation for Credit Counseling is actually predicting that financial stress for consumers is going to hit an all-time high this quarter. More and more people, especially in that middle income group, are just maxing out their ability to borrow.
But here's where that K-shape really shows up. There is some good news out there. The Treasury Secretary announced that so far this tax season, the average tax refund is up by a whopping 22%. Now, for some families, that is a desperately needed bit of breathing room. And there's more help for some. A new temporary tax rule lets some people deduct up to $10,000 in interest on loans for new American-assembled cars. But again, you see how it's targeted help. It's not something everyone can even take advantage of. Now, let's look at the other side of that divide. At the very same time that some people are getting bigger tax breaks, the first estimates for the 2027 Social Security cost of living adjustment are coming in as low as 1.2%. For millions of retirees, that would be one of the smallest increases in a decade. You can really see that K-shape in action. Okay, so we've got radical tech change happening. We have an economy that's splitting into two. And now we have to add the third layer. All of this is happening on top of a really unstable political foundation, which just injects a whole new level of uncertainty into everything. Right here in the US, President Trump is facing some serious pushback from inside his own party. I mean, this week alone, you had House Republicans voting to overturn his tariffs on Canada, Senator Tom Tillis blocking key Federal Reserve nominations because of an investigation into the chair, and then the administration is dealing with all the fallout from the release of those Jeffrey Epstein court documents. And this instability isn't just a domestic thing. The ripples are going global. For instance, the CEO of DP World, one of the biggest port operators in the world, was replaced because of links revealed in those Epstein files. And at the same time, tensions between the US and Iran are still incredibly high, with the president talking tough, even though most analysts don't think a military strike is really on the table. So, okay, let's try to pull all of these different threads together. We've got technology, we've got economics, and we've got politics, all in a massive state of flux at the exact same moment. What in the world does this all mean for us?
Well, what it all points to is that we're living in an age of convergent disruption. It's not just one thing, it's the accelerating power of AI crashing into a diverging, K-shaped economy, all of it built on the shaky foundation of unstable politics. And these forces, they're feeding off of each other.
And that brings us right back to Matt Schumer's original point. This isn't about being scared, it's just about being aware. If we can understand these individual forces, the AI, the key-shaped economy, the political instability, we can start to see the bigger picture. And that's the first step to figuring out how to navigate all of this uncertainty. Which really just leaves us with one final question to think about. When everything is changing this fast, when technology and money and power are all being reshaped at once, maybe the biggest risk we face isn't the disruption itself. Maybe the biggest risk is just failing to see it coming and not adapting fast enough.